Okay, welcome everybody. Team Building Tuesday, and tonight we are probably going to talk about one of the absolute most important topics of building an unfranchised business through marketamericanshop.com, and that is onboarding a partner right. When you bring someone on, you're setting a precedent and you're setting a pattern that they will follow moving forward. And the way you bring somebody into business, the expectations that you set during the process of bringing somebody in the business, and also what is done with them will be repeated. They will automatically do it, because what you guys will notice is as you start building this business particularly, what you do with people, they will do with others. People do what they see done, not what you say should be done. Let me repeat that. People do what they do, not what they say, or people do what they see being done, not what they hear should be being done. So it's a very important thing that when you bring people on, you do it right and you're methodical about it, because you want to set them up for success, not only for themselves, but also you want to make sure they're doing the things that when they repeat it with other people are also setting them up for success at the exact same time. So we're going to talk about two primary processes first and foremost. The first one I'm going to talk about, okay, is the folder that I provide people. So I have somebody getting ready to get started. Now, I do want to tell you guys, I always have people earn their way to be a partner of mine by starting to create some momentum even before they get started, right? They potentially have attended a training. They've led the people to evaluate the product, or they've led the people to evaluate the business many times before I even bring them on, because I love the aspect of creating momentum before people get started. So always keep that in mind. The law of inertia is very applicable to our business. So if you show the plan and someone said, man, this is the most incredible thing, I want to get started, and you get them started, before they have done anything, before they have started to try the product, before they had introduced the product to anybody else, before they have asked someone to evaluate the business and had a couple people evaluate the business, if you do that before they do that, they're at rest. Does that make sense? I mean, they're at rest. And the law of inertia states things at rest tend to stay what? At rest, right? So if you start somebody else right out as soon as they see it, don't get me wrong, some people are so excited that they'll force you to do that, and on occasion you'll allow that. But one of the challenges of doing that is now we have to get the ball rolling. So we have to take something that the law of inertia is in control of, and get the ball rolling, which creates momentum after they get started. It's a lot harder to do it that way. But if you actually do the things to get people moving, and you at least have them earn a little bit. Hey, get in front of the plan to a few people to evaluate it. You teach them the evaluation approach. Have a small a product event, online, virtual, where we can introduce some people the product to evaluate, to see if you get some great referrals and some orders, right? And they do that. Now they are started the habit. They have inertia. They're at motion. And the second part of the law of inertia is things in motion tend to stay in motion, right? So when you bring a partner on, do you want them at rest when you bring them on, or do you want them in motion? Every single time you want them in motion. So that's the important thing. And that's really what the trial run mechanism, or what I like to call the qualification process, is all about. I don't want somebody's money and just get them in. I want them to what? Create some momentum, some inertia, so that some motion, so they can stay in motion and we don't have to get them going once they're started. So just keep that in mind. That's the reason why it's important to get people started and making sure they're doing the right things. So first thing I want to share with you guys, and I'm going to share my whole entire desktop here, is this. When I go to bring somebody on, I have a new partner folder, and you can see it on my screen here, what the new partner folder looks like. All right, y'all can see it, right? Can you all see? Yes, I can. I'm just wondering. Okay, good. All right, so this is my new, I have no idea what this is. This is not supposed to be in here. Somehow it got dropped in there. But this is what I have. Now, when I bring somebody on in person, this is what the new folder looks like. And you can ask Jason Pierre, I have a stack of these. And I use this on every single person I bring into the business, okay? Personally, every time. This is the folder. All this is the contents of what you're seeing on your screen here. I have the About MA PDF, right? I have the onboarding checklist, which I'm going to go over. That's the second piece I'm going to talk about here in a minute. The onboarding checklist, right? I have, where do I put the other piece to that? I have the basic 5 weekly reporting thing, and a getting started guide, which you can get from the company or print it off, and then a registration cost breakdown sheet along with the unfranchised level sheet. This is not supposed to be in here either. I just did, my wife got on here and helped me reorganize my desktop, and I'm messing it up again. But anyway, these are the things that I make sure that are in that folder. Now, I will print them off and put them in a folder for them, right, when I get them started, right? Or, right, if they're at a distance, right before you bring them on, I will email them this whole folder. Now, I have this whole folder also in Dropbox, so I can post the Dropbox link in the team Facebook page so you guys can grab it. And these are the things I want to make sure that they have in their possession when I'm registering them. So if I'm doing it in person, I'm going to have the folder printed off to sit down with them, and they're going to have something to take with them, which is good. Wouldn't you agree? They have something to take with when they get started. And we're going to reference this when we bring them on board. If they're at a distance and we're doing it virtually, I'm going to send this to them. I'm going to have them print off this stuff. Now, here's the thing. The About MA PDF does not have to be printed off. I like to do it, but the things that need to be printed, nor does the administration basics. It's a links. There's links about basics of admin, how to do certain things in the business. What I always print off, though, is this onboarding guided checklist, right? Because this is what I'm going to give them and go through. The registration cost breakdown sheet, the unfranchised PIN levels, and the getting started guide. Like those 4 things are always printed off. Let me repeat that. And I'd take notes on this, guys, too. But as you do this, so you can send them all the digital versions so they have access to these, because that's what I always do. I'll email them all these, but I'll print off and hand them at least, and I'll have them print it off for themselves, at least those 4 things. The onboarding guide checklist, the registration cost breakdown sheet, it's a 1-pager that explains all the things that they need to know and their expectations. The unfranchised level sheet that shows them the different, how much income to hit different thresholds, so it gives them a way to start setting some goals, and the getting started guide, right? They're the 4 things that I always want to make sure that they have and that are printed off in front of me. So and then when I sit down with people, this is the only time when they're ready to get started and they've led the people and created some inertia that I'm going to get into the registration cost breakdown sheet. So I'm going to pull it out, right? And you guys are going to see it's right here, okay? I'm going to pull this thing out, and I'm just going to go through this. And what I call, this is a 1-pager that goes through everything that they need to know. And so there's no surprises, no expectations, no surprises. They're not like caught off guard if they're when they find out about an auto ship or that they have an annual renewal of $99.95 per year. Those type of things, they are just means of doing business to make sure we're properly functioning as a legal entity, as an unfranchised owner, independent unfranchised owner. So this goes through everything that they need to know. And I don't bring all these things up until I know they're ready to start, until they qualify to even come into the business. Because all too often, I'll see a mistake happen where people start going into all the details before they even have led to anyone, before they even showed that they qualify to get that attention. Guys, get them doing the things that it takes before you go through this, because then they'll see they have something so much to gain because they've led to some people and they're going to get started, potentially activated or more, and they're going to start earning checks right away. And then when they see, this is the breakdown, it's like pennies compared to what they see that they're going to earn right away. Does that make sense? So get them to qualify and then go through this when it's about time to start them. And you break it down. Remember, that if you break down the cost, again, you could do a fast start kit for $429.95, but when you break it down, you spread it out, just so they understand the application cost is $129.95. And I always tell people the average registration cost usually ranges between $400 and $800, simply because Some people will choose the fast start kit, but some people will choose a fast start kit and add some stuff because they want more product when you use a home shopping list. That's the one thing, by the way, you can't print off here, but I always add to my welcome folder, by the way, is a home shopping list. Always a home shopping list. And these are printed by the company. I love we have a virtual one that we could add in there, which I haven't yet, that Jack did, which is really good. But I just love the actual carbon copy one. It just works so well because it shows people a bunch of product categories that they know they're spending money on anyway. And they might want to get some of those when they register too, because they know they have to spend that money, right? It's not about doing the minimums in this business and having a minimum mindset. It's about maximizing the business plan by having a maximum mindset. How much can I buy from myself? How much of my own spending can I convert into earning by creating BV for my own consumption, and also have those experiences with the product sooner than later, faster if possible, so I can create customers, because they're going to listen to my experiences way more than they'll listen to science or what the products are supposed to do. They're going to listen to my experience. So how quick can we convert spending and earning? So I go through this, guys, and I keep it really simple. I have the folder, I hand it to them, I flip it open, and obviously you can see in my thing, the first one is this estimated registration cost breakdown sheet. I pull it out, right? And within the folder, I have their getting started guide, which will go through the whole thing on the second follow-up. I have, the basic 5 checklist, those things I just went with you guys, the unfranchised PIN levels, like the unfranchised levels sheet, those things that I just went through, and they'll have that, right? So so my most important thing before I register in the business, guys, is I go through this estimated cost breakdown sheet, and I call it our 1-page full disclosure page. So you're not surprised by anything, and you know everything to expect. Full disclosure page. All expectations are on one page. It's a 1-pager. All right, so that's a good thing. And you can go through this, guys. When you look at it, it talks about the seminars, the required trainings that they'll end up having to take, and the UFMS and the auto ship. It just goes, and the auto renewal. It goes through all that stuff and lets them know. And then obviously there's a little start spot. It says a fast start kit's $429, and then you want them to have tickets on that. And that's an important thing, guys. When you bring someone in, make sure they register for at least one training. And I highly encourage a local training, and they register or buy a ticket for a large conference too. It's one of the smartest and best things that happened to me is that I was required by my accountant to buy not only a local seminar ticket, but a convention ticket. Even though I really didn't want to go, but he made me buy the ticket because he wanted me to be set up right for success. And that was the best probably single business influence that I ever had that made this business work for me was I went to that convention when it was first available to me. So again, it's your choice. You're independent on franchise owners, but I highly encourage you guys to get people set up for success by getting them to commit to the trainings. So this goes through everything that you need to know. So that's the first thing I do when I'm sitting down with them. And this is before I register them. So when I go through it, I say, is there anything here? Do you have any questions? You need me to clarify anything? And, so, and every single thing is there. So they will never be surprised by anything. And it also shows it's a real business. Okay. That's number one. Now, the second thing I'll do is I'll grab their getting started guide, right? And I'm going to do the first 2 pages. Well, the first page and a half. I'm going to flip it open. Right after I go through this full disclosure, I'm gonna fit, and they say this is good for me. I'm ready to get started. Right, we're clear on everything. I'm gonna flip open the getting started guide, and I'm gonna have them read the congratulations area, and then I'm gonna give them all the names and numbers of their 4 senior partners right here, so they can access them. And then the last thing is I'm gonna go to this commitment section here. I'm gonna make sure they commit to 12 months of following the system minimum. This isn't a 2-day or 2-week or 2-month plan. This is a 12-month plan, and it's going to take some education and learning and a learning curve involved. It can't be a month, 2 months. If you won't commit to a year, right? I don't see a reason to get started because it's going to take some time to learn. You'll make some money in the process, but I want you to learn and have at least a 1-year commitment for you and I to work together, right? And we'll assess it after a year and see what we have to do. But a 1-year commitment to follow the minimums that we're going to go through, right? And we shake on it, right? Done and done. That's so important, guys. Get that 1-year commitment, and it's right here in the getting started guide. And then let them know after that point, We'll finish this getting started guide at the follow-up meeting, and you'll be able to do some of it yourself. So that's the only prep work I do before I get them registered and actually go on the computer and register them. I do this simple estimated registration cost breakdown sheet, just again, 1 pager, full disclosure, nothing to be surprised about. And then the first page and a half, like the first page plus the commitment level on the second page, or the commitment threat section of the second page, to get them to commit to at least a year of doing the business. And then that's it. And then I take these 2 things, I put them away in the folder, and I hand them the folder and I say, congratulations, this is awesome. Then I go on and register their business. I go through the process of registering their business. So that's the first thing I want to share with you guys. And again, at the end here, I'll open up for questions, but it's so important to do these things because it makes it really easy. And here's the best part. They'll never say, I didn't know this, or you didn't tell me this. It's all covered in one spot very easily. And they have something to what? Take home with them moving forward. So that is that, guys. All right. So that's my folder. Now, the next thing I want to share with you guys is this. When you start somebody, that's not the end. That's the beginning. Don't ever make a mistake and think, hey, when I bring somebody on, all of a sudden now go get them Tiger and your hands off. In fact, nothing can be further from the truth. The work actually begins once you register a partner. That's when the work begins. You're making a 3 to 6 month minimum commitment to work with those people and guide them and mentor them and coach them and get them inspired, plug them into the system, encourage them to do the right things, and be there for them, right? So important, right? So remember, this is where the work begins. So the next thing I'm going to share with you guys is this onboarding checklist, okay? The onboarding checklist that we have. Hold on a second here. Let me minimize this for a second and bring the onboarding checklist up for you guys really, really quickly. Should be right here. Okay. And I'm going to share the screen. And this is the onboarding checklist. Now, what I did, guys, is I just updated this for the current virtual time. this is something that I've used I created this originally for myself, okay? Because here's the thing. I'm really busy, and I have a ton of people in the business, right? And not only am I helping and doing meetings with all kinds of people, like, I did a meeting with Adolph earlier. I did a meeting with Vershanti last night with Maleva and Becky tonight, and Darwin and Steve Turner and Miriam. We did one. Yeah. Well, I'm doing meetings with all kinds of people. Plus, I have my meetings of my own personal sponsor people. So, I'm trying to help as many people as possible right now, particularly because people need the help. Not just in the business, but everywhere, because people right now need what we have. So I'm doing the best I can to work with people. So that makes it easy to forget things. Wouldn't you guys all agree? Like, it's really easy to kind of forget about things or catch yourself not maybe doing all the things or guiding your partners right, because maybe you dropped the ball accidentally because you forget certain things that you should have done with your partner when you bring them in, especially brand new people that you may forgot about. So this is my catch to make sure that I don't do that. And this is just a piece that I made for myself to simplify and make a checklist so I never forget an important thing to do with every single person I bring in the business. That's exactly what this part is here. So let me share it with you. There's 3 pages here. The first one, so remember, I went through those 2 things in their folder, and they take the rest with them. Keep it real simple. It takes 5 to 15 minutes to go through all that when you start and sit down with somebody to get them started. Now, if you send it to them, you're going to have them print those things off, and you're still going to go through it by sharing a screen like I am on Zoom right now. Use one of us if you haven't done that before, and we'll help you, right? Making sure we're getting them started. Then we're registering them. Then after we register them, we're going to go to this. And you could do this either right at the end of the registration or at the beginning of your follow-up meeting of the registration a day or 2 later, right? Once they get their package 3 days later, whatever that might be. So it's up to you. Depends on the time you have and how much available time that you created. Yeah, there you are. Eric made a great point. He said, pilots always use a pre-flight checklist. That's a great way to put it. In fact, Eric, I'm going to steal that and pretend I thought of it myself, bro. Good work, man. But that's you know what I mean? Like, yes, this is our pre-flight checklist. We're about to launch. This is our pre-flight checklist to make sure we're doing all the things right and get you started in terms of the business activity. We talked about the admin stuff and what your expectations of what you need to do from a commitment level in terms of like the product side of things, that to market in America. But now let's talk about the business building things, right? This is my onboarding guide to make sure everybody is getting access to everything they need to have, but they're also getting plugged in to the systemized group things we have that everyone, like what you guys are on now, can feel a part of. So here's what we have. Page 1 is just a cover, right? It looks good. You can take it with you, but you can just take that off. What I usually do, right, is I print these two-sided. So page 1 and 2 are one page. Page 3 is by itself, right? But it doesn't matter. You can just get rid of the cover if it's not. So here's page 2. Now listen, when I do this with my new partner, whether it's right at the end of registering them or at the follow-up, I give them this. This is the new franchise owner. This is their sheet. So this packet here, it's just 3 pages. The second page goes to the new person. The third page you keep for yourself. It's your tracking checklist. It's your pre-flight checklist. Or a lot of it's pre-flight, and then some of it's like when you're starting to take off too. So it's pre-flight and, beginning flight, whatever I want to call it. But right here, it's simple. When I sit down with my people, I say, hey, if you want to be a go now, right, this is the things that you need to do to get your brain wrapped around the system, get educated and get trained as fast as possible, but also meet a lot of other people in the business so you can have people to communicate with. There you go. Pre-flight checklist and in-flight checklist. Eric, some of us got to just get a little smarter, bro. But that's good. I'm glad you're commenting here. So this is what I give them and say, this is the base fundamentals of how to build this is and I tell them this is the only business in the world, or very few business in the world, where you can start before you have education, right? Every business to become successful requires education and knowledge. But this is one of the few in the world where, if you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, a realtor, or anything, you have training to do and get licensing before you can even get started building the business. This is one of the few in the world where you can start right away. Now, although they're not requiring training to start, it does require training to succeed. So we want to start that process of education right away. So the first thing is listen to 1 audio per day. And I'm going to send them the Dropbox, the Dropbox, and then also get them downloading the Unfranchised Media app so they have access to it. Second thing is we needed to plug into the system of all the training and community things that we do, right? Attending 2 or 3. Now, this is what I added, guys, because right now we can't do unfranchised business presentations. We have to do online things, right? That's exactly right. We have to make this all a habit. So attending 2 to 3 virtual Zoom interactive sessions per week. We have 6, 7, 8. Guys, this is not because we expect you to be on 6, 7, or 8 or to be overwhelmed by it. We just want everybody to get on things like we're doing now, learn a little bit every single week, 2 or 3 interactive Zooms, right? If you can be on more, right? But 2 or 3 minimum. So you can not only learn something new from successful franchise owners that have done it, but also, guys, your team will follow your lead and do it for them. And now everybody's meeting other people from all walks of life, and you'll build your center of influence and your network and have other people to leverage with. You might have someone that would really relate to Jason, and you met Jason on one of these interactive calls. Now, all of a sudden, because they have a background in the automotive world, and Jason does, so you can bring him in on a call with your prospect. You're meeting new people, and there's so much value to being on a call like this because you're learning, number 1. You're meeting the rest of the people, number 2. You're also interacting with humans, and that's something that everybody wants right now, isn't it? Well, we're all just kind of stuck in our house a lot more often than we want to be, right? We can interact with people and engage and just build that camaraderie and that community. And you can feel the heart of people and the passion and the hunger for people to win and survive. And you can lift each other up and inspire people. And ask questions and interact and engage. There's so much value to it. So plugging into the system, both the virtual trainings and then when available, attend live in-person UBPs. Once things break in the next handful of months, whenever it happens, we'll get those back again. And then attending one official GMTSS training this says monthly, but every 4 to 6 weeks when they're available, right? So that's a second thing. That I want you to do that, commit. If they do those two things, they're going to have a really good base. Then to cement that information together, make sure they buy a ticket or register for an upcoming GMTSS training, right? So that's number 3. Fourth thing is we want to get your business launched and your products introduced to people. So we're going to schedule a business launch and a product event. I want you to establish your goals, and we're going to help you understand the evaluation approach. So this is what I give them. So just know, when I bring you on, my goal is to make sure that you're doing these 6 things, right? And I've helped guide you in creating these 6 things as a habit. This is my most important 6 what? 6 installations that I have to make in my new people, right? So they're building their self-development, their confidence, and their knowledge about the business, because they don't have swag talking to people and they can't be derailed, right? Now, at the bottom of this first page, this tells them what the sponsor should share with them. This is a reminder for me to not drop the ball. So this says, send the audios in Dropbox, right? This already told them that they can download the unfranchised media, but I'm going to send them the audios from my Dropbox file. They're my 10 favorite audios. Y'all can have access to it. I'm going to send them the virtual interactive training calendar, right? In digital, or hand it to them, right? So, and I tell everyone, schedule all of these in your calendar with a little reminder, a notification 5 minutes before. So if you're not showing the plan or doing product events, which they take priority, guys. If you have plan showings or product events where you're introducing customers or the business, they take priority over the interactive Zoom trainings per week. Do that stuff. This is if you don't have stuff. And that's why we try to do it at times that wouldn't conflict with those things, because I know there's a lot of value to this too. But do that. But set the alarm for all of the things that you have interest in, because there's some topics you might not, you know. And then if you're free, get on them. All you have to do is get on. You don't always have to put your video on, or else although we might harass you to, you could just listen and learn. We're not going to bother you if you don't respond. You just might want to listen and learn at any given time. That's fine, right? But send them that. Then you send them the YouTube playlist prior to the interactive Zoom session that we did prior, of the former ones that we did that were really good. So they can use that as another self-education piece as well. You make sure you sell them a ticket or get them registered for the next GMTSS or corporate event. And then you book their launch event and their product event to be either held in their home, where they have people come and evaluate the business, and in their home where they have people come and evaluate the product, right? Or you do it with a virtual event, okay? Now, that's what you give them, and you just go through it with them. I like doing this at my follow-up after I get them started, so they know, so they're not overwhelmed. There's a lot that they're going to go through when you register them. My favorite time to go through this is at the follow-up meeting the next time we meet, right? But here's how I keep track of this for myself. I give them this second page so they know what to expect from me and what I'm going to be pushing them to do as their mentor. And I'm telling them, I'm going to push you to make sure you get it. But this is what I use for myself. Now, let me show you guys how I have this organized for me, right? This is my folder. Now, I either would have it in my folder, I'd have it in my schedule book. When I was moving around before, I would have it in my schedule book, and I would punch holes in this third page. And what you do is you put your partner's name, their start date, and then what you have is there's very simple actions to make sure you're doing these things, and you put a date right next to each thing so you know it's done. Because here's the thing. If you bring somebody in and they're not where they want to be, and let's just say, Miriam, you call me up and say, Don, I don't understand why XYZ isn't where they're not activated yet. They don't have many customers yet. I'm not sure why. I'm going to say, all right, great. Grab their onboarding checklist. Let's see where they're at. You see what I'm saying, guys? So now we can see, like, well, okay, first thing, add them to the 2 Facebook groups, number 1. Number 2, get them to opt into the text message, the text communication. They text MATNT to this number, right? Boom, they're opted in. Next, opt into the email newsletter, which is under announcements in the mashop.com Team TNT Facebook page. Next thing is make sure they got so there's some repetition in here because it's making sure you don't miss it. send them audios and teach them to listen to an audio every day while they're getting ready, driving to and from work, working out, cleaning, whatever that might be, right? And help them, you know, send them the Dropbox with the most important audios, right? Only reason why I do that, guys, is because there's 150 or 200 audios or more on the Unfranchised Media app. I grab my favorite dozen or so, and I put them in a Dropbox file to tell them to listen to those 2 or 3 times each through before they go, and they'll find all kinds of great stuff on there. But I want to make sure they get the most important content as fast as possible. So that's why I do that. Then purchase a ticket to the next event, book their business launch event. Again, this is just a checklist to make sure that I have dates set up, help them create a top 10 list, review the getting started guide. A lot of stuff we already talked about. It just, I make sure that I'm not dropping a ball. Then there's 14 things, guys. And the goal is I keep them. Here's mine. They're in my folder here. You can see my checklist right here. And what happens is, and I got 3 of them because there's 3 people that I've brought in that haven't finished them yet. And I don't take it out until they're done. So now anytime I look, if I don't have a date on next to, you know, every single one, right? This is Brenda, she's on, right? She's been through it, you know, so we haven't had a chance to finish a good number of it. I guess we have about 8 of them done. We got about 7 more to go. I'm not getting rid of this until it's complete, because that's going to remind me every time I look in this folder, oh man, I got to get back with that person. You got to say what I'm saying. And some of these things are so important that you do them. And if you don't do them, you're leaving their success up to chance. And I don't want to leave any of your success up to chance. Again, sometimes you'll have people that won't be willing to commit to do this stuff. They just want to be a wholesale customer. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't try to force it on them. But just remember, if someone wants to have success and they want to build this to a weekly income, a weekly commission check or more, they need to commit to these minimums. It's not hard. It's a part-time business, not a spare time business. And it does take some commitment, but it's worth it to create a 6-figure residual income. And I'm sure you guys would all agree, right? I mean, that's what it's all about. So that's it, guys. That's pretty much the gist of bringing people on right. And one of the things that is it's hard to measure is people's interaction and their ability to meet the other partners and see the heart of the organization. This organization is not about me. It's not about Jason. It's not about Miriam. It's about the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. It's about the relationships, the community, and I love watching the interaction that we have done. I mean, we have brought together such a great, you know, up until this, we had great teams all over the country and they pretty much were standalone. They did it on their own. But when this COVID thing happened, I think the blessing in the whole thing from a business perspective, you know, for us, is it brought us all together better than ever before. And more people are interacting together and actually doing business with each other that live from Florida to California to Virginia to Rhode Island and everywhere in between, guys. All these are great friends that they met on these interactives that they've built a community. And I'm going to tell you, we have the best team and the best community in the whole company. You know, I know there's a lot of some of the young guns that are going. They have a really good one. They have some things going on. I'm just telling you something right now. Between the caliber and the diversity and the backgrounds and the all walks of life all across the country, we have something ridiculously special here. And I hope you guys realize that and don't take it for granted and really leverage it. So that's the training for tonight. On that, I'm going to open this up for some questions here in a second. But just a quick recap. Onboarding someone is important. Make sure you have a folder, or you're going to send it to them to print it off for themselves, right? Which you went through earlier. You can rewatch the video and the training. Before you register them, go through this registration cost breakdown sheet and make sure they commit to a year dedication and you get them at least a ticket purchased. I like them to buy the ticket, by the way, or register for the training before I even register them, because I want them to create that habit and do that with everybody they bring in. So that's that. And then I register them online, put all their details in, have them purchase their kit or pick and choose their products, right? Wrap that whole thing up, set up their website right at the end of that, right? Then I book a follow-up within a day or two. I like it within a day or two. Sometimes you have to go 3 days. Within a day or two, if I can do it, I do it in person, right? Do it safely, but do it in person. And then that's when I go through this onboarding checklist where I say, all right, this is the expectations that what I like to set the precedence. And I ask them, do you want to make a big you want to make a 6-figure income? Is that a goal of yours? Or you just want to make a couple $100s a month? if you only want to make a couple $100 a month, this stuff is not going to apply to you very much, but I'm still going to try to take you down this path eventually, but I'm not going to force it on you. But if you want to make a full-time or six-figure income, this is what we have to do. Now, I'm not giving them this third page that you see here, guys. This is just for me to take and track, making sure I don't drop the ball. But what I'm going to give them is page 2, so they know to what to expect from me when I'm coming back to them. I'm going to make sure that they're doing these things so they're keeping their brain plugged in the game right. And I'm telling you guys, you will be unstoppable if you install this into your team and you use this as a tool repeatedly over time. It's unreal, because if you're doing these things, you're getting them to lead the people, you're teaching the evaluation approach, right? So they know how to lead the people comfortably, non-invasively, without pressure. They establish their goals, they plug into the system, and they listen to an audio every day, and getting on these virtual interactive Zooms. They can't help but by osmosis, learn what they need to know and build that confidence, that swag that they need to go through, the ups and downs of talking to positive people or negative people on occasion. You're not going to be able to avoid them. And by the way, one last thing, the more successful you get, the more haters you'll have. It just is what it is. If you can't handle it, don't get successful. It doesn't matter what business you're in, guys. That doesn't where you're at. You're going to have people that are going to think you got lucky. They're going to, because they haven't done as good as what you've done, they're going to say, oh, they don't do it the way I do it. I do it different. That's a bunch of crap. The successful people in this business, success leaves clues. Success leaves clues. And you're going to find great people in this business. You're going to create real good relationships with great people that are really successful. And they're going to be really, really nice. Don't make that complacent. Don't take advantage of that. Don't take that for granted. When you find somebody that's made it, they know what the heck they're doing. And they know how to do it. And just because you get more familiar with them, don't let that lead to contempt. If that happens, that's your mistake. It's not theirs. You need to make sure that you follow their lead the whole way. I will never lead you guys wrong. And I know the other successful leaders in the company will never lead you guys wrong. You might not understand why to do it. You might think you know everything you need to, but I promise you, until you're at director, until you're at six figures, there's things that you'll never know until you're there on how to handle until it's there. It's experiential. We'll always help guide you through the path. And that's really, guys, so stinking important as you're building this business moving forward. So this is good. I'm so excited for y'all. I'm going to stop the recording here and allow that you guys ask some questions. So thanks for being on, and here we go.